Choosing Oxford, was it somewhere that you, because obviously the way Oxford entrance works, it's very different to to lots of other, the majority of universities, I think, in the way that you do have an entrance exam that you've got to sit. There is an interview process and things like that. So you're already, if you want to go to Oxford or Cambridge, already you know that you're going to have to go through those sort of, trials, as it were. Was it always a dream of yours to go through those trials? Was Oxford always top of your list?
Not necessarily, actually. I went to a school where I didn't even really hear of Oxford and Cambridge at all, and nobody I knew had applied there or anything. And it was only really when I was doing my A-levels, I went to a sixth form college where there's a bit more experience with applying to university, that one of my teachers actually suggested, oh, you should go for it. And it was only then where I kind of realised it was a possibility that, oh, maybe I could apply and it wouldn't be a completely lost hope. But I think around the end of year 12 was when I definitely decided I want to apply. And then it was like a good way to take on a new challenge, I think.
And so end of year 12, you kind of made the decision. And do you think, so end of year 12, which would have then meant if your exam, you would have actually done pretty much at the beginning of year 13. Did you feel you had enough time to prepare for it?
Not really. And to be honest, again, because I didn't really know anyone who was applying, and my teacher said that I shouldn't worry about it, I didn't really worry too much about it, and probably only did about 2 or 3 practice papers before I sat it. I think looking back, and also my friends at Oxford, I realised that I probably should have done a bit more. I kind of didn't worry too much about it, which I think looking back is probably the best way to go. I think it was the interviews that I was really scared about.
Okay, and talk me through the interview.
Again, I was so nervous. I was shaking beforehand. And again, because I was in-person interviews when I did it. So I was looking around at all the people around me. I'm like, wow, these people are all geniuses. They're all so smart. They're all winning at bananagrams. And I was like, that's it. And there's no chance for me. But I was so surprised when I came in that both my interviewers, they were just really chill. They weren't old scary professors. They were wearing jeans and a t-shirt with a gold chain. They were speaking very relaxed and said cool things. I don't know, I was very shocked. And also what they were asking me was mostly A-level stuff, and then they just kind of took it one step further. You kind of hear those horror stories of interviews where they pull something out of thin air and you're like, how on earth are you meant to answer that? But I got none of those kind of surprise questions. It was more just kind of, again, following on from concepts I was already aware with, which was actually really fun. I went out of it and being like, wow, that was a really fun conversation. Great 20 minutes. So again, before and after was a completely different perspective on how interviews were actually in reality. So
did you come out feeling positive, but I guess, did you want to buy into the idea that, it could be an offer, or did you kind of come out being like, yeah, I've got that? No.
Oh, definitely not. I made a silly maths mistake in one of them. I made loads of mistakes in all of them, actually. And so I was like, it's a really good experience. I've spent 3 days in Oxford. Okay, I can move on with my life now. But I thought that was it, to be honest. But again, it was quite interesting talking to my now friends who I'm with at Oxford. We all made loads of mistakes. We all made similar mistakes, actually. And I think that's the point of an interview. It's not meant to be that you're 100% perfect. I think they more want to see how you think and how you respond to challenges, which I think is really interesting. Because again, you think that the only people who are going to get into universities like that are 100% geniuses, have been excelling ever since they were born and just were meant for it and lived and breathed academia. But in reality, it's just people who are interested about their subject and just normal people, which really surprised me.
So there's hope for you yet. Yeah. How does that make you feel, hearing that?
Yeah, I think the interview process, obviously I've tried not to let myself think too much about it, but I think it definitely sounds terrifying. Being in a room with 2 people who know their subject inside out, have published books, articles, journals about things that you want to study. And you're always nervous about how you present yourself. How do you want to come across? Do you want to come across confident? I hope you want to come across confident, but not arrogant. Yeah. And one question I did have is, did you find that the questions they asked you were similar to the other people in the room, or did some of your friends get one question which you didn't, or was it different for everyone, or was it the same?
It was the same questions for everyone, I think.
So wait, it's a group interview?
No.
Oh,
but,
okay, cool.
Everyone else who interviewed got the exact same questions.
Oh, really? So probably like they've got a list. I suppose that makes it fair, right?
Yeah, I think so. Because from what I heard, because I went for the Oxford Open Day a couple of months ago, and one of the PP students showing me around said that they changed the questions for the students, and there were like certain questions they'd ask certain students based on maybe their personal statement. But then there was also other people who've said that it's the same for everyone. So I think that kind of ambiguity is what makes the Oxford interview so scary. You can't go in knowing, right, they're going to ask me this, this, and this. And it's also not one of those interviews which is like, oh, we just want to see if he's a good guy. They want to see that they can really stretch you and that they can really kind of challenge you. And I think one of the things that someone told me is that whatever your answer is to a question, they'll tend to disagree with you. And you're nodding, so I'm assuming that's probably right.
Talk to us about that.
Well, I guess it's different depending on the subject. So I think because a humanities interview, they're definitely going to disagree with you. But in chemistry, it was more like I'd say something and they'd be like, why? And then I'd give an answer. They'd be like, but why though?
Oh.
And they keep on asking you questions until they're sure that you really understand it. And you're not quite sure, like they don't really say, oh, that's right or that's wrong. They just kind of like, okay. And they kind of move on, which was slightly terrifying, but it's also good in a sense, again, because it's like you're actually getting to talk properly about something that you really like. And it's like, it feels like a conversation. It doesn't feel like a panel interview where they're just, question after question. They kind of respond and then say, oh, what did you think about this? And you're like, oh, actually, oh yeah, that's a good point. And then, they actually help you as well. I was also surprised by how much help they gave me in the interview. And it wasn't just like an awkward silence if I didn't know something, that they want you to do well, which again, they're normal people. They don't want people to fail. So yeah, that was quite a good aspect, which I didn't expect at all.
And did you go on to then be taught by those people, or are there separate administrators who do interviews, or are they actual tutors?
No, they were my tutors for the whole 4 years. So that was also a good experience to know if like I would like to, them to teach me as well. And by the end of my 4 years, we're quite close. Like, you get to know them really well because you have these tutorials with only 2 other people in the class. So yeah, it was a really good experience to kind of have the interview with them and then spend the 4 years just being taught by them as well.
You had a question about tutorials, I think.